Welcome to the Dating Kinky Podcast, a cast about love, sex, romance, and kink. Who am I? One of the things I love about kink is that we tend to ask ourselves this question in ways that other people don't. And I think that's a good thing. For me, the challenge in any life, not just kink, is when we stop asking ourselves who we are and we live inside the cages we've built for ourselves without realizing they're even there. And I get that for some, the power is in feeling that we do have it all figured out. Sometimes it's exhausting to question ourselves over and over and over. I feel like there's a balance, a way to leave the cage door open, or one full side, or something. So today, let me tell you about the cages we build for ourselves. Monday night was amazing for me. I went out to a local slosh with 70 plus other kinksters. I got to spend time with someone I've not seen in way too long, thanks to the pandemic and other mitigating factors. I talked with 3 people who said that dating kinky has helped them connect with others in some way. And I had some brilliant conversations. And one of those conversations touched on a project I've been working on about how we label ourselves and why that matters and how it affects how we think and behave. A few years ago, I met this attractive new kinkster. Not unusual for me. Didn't see them again until last night. If you're listening to this, I've got your name now. They'd sort of dipped their toe into the scene, then got relationshiped, tale as old as time, and now they're back. And they mentioned in passing that at their first play party, they began to wonder how they should define themselves. Because it seemed like every label had its own set of boxes and boundaries that they weren't sure they wanted. And I'm paraphrasing here. Thing is, I get it, because that's what labels are. They're shorthand for a set of words, beliefs, descriptions, and ideas. And when we label ourselves, we're applying those to who we are. And when we do that, our oh-so-helpful brains want to make us right. So they adjust our behaviors and our ideas to match our new beliefs, which is great most of the time. Not so much when those labels bring with them limitations that we aren't fully aware of or haven't really thought through. I'll give you an example of my own beliefs that really tripped me up. Polyamory. I've read all about polyamory for years, and I've lived it. And I believed that I was doing it wrong. Because nearly everything I'd read had talked about jealousy and NRE as huge factors in polyamory. And I didn't experience those the same way others did, the way they talked about them and described them. So I kept trying to make my experience look like others. Well, maybe not so much in the jealousy part, but I did for a while label my envy and possessiveness as jealousy. But the NRE, I thought that if I didn't have it, I wasn't giving my people the real polyamory experience. And the strange part about this, I didn't even fully realize those were actually my thoughts. I just had this vague anxiety that I was not enough or right. Any of you ever felt that? No? Just me? Good. It took me a moment of clarity and inspiration to realize that I'm not like everyone in how I think and love, and therefore my polyamory would not be like everyone's. Duh. But once I actually took the time to think about what I believe about polyamory, I stopped feeling anxious. And I started using the word non-monogamous as my primary descriptor. And monoromantic. I feel romantic and Twitter-pated with one person at a time while still developing deep, intimate relationships with many. I also still use polyamorous and pimptress and cuckoldress. And I unlocked my cage by finding the more specific labels I needed for me, for my life and my freedom. It was that simple. But it took me realizing that the cage was there first, that it existed, and also understanding that it was of my own making. Over the past week or two, in comments on my writings, several people have mentioned things that have caged them. Sometimes labels others gave them. Sometimes cages they've made themselves from their sexual orientation, gender, kink roles, personality traits, astrological signs even. Which is fine, 100%, until you find yourself rattling those cage doors and wanting out. In which case, you may want to redefine your labels and yourself and set yourself free. What are your thoughts? Have you taken on a role or a label that ended up stifling you? Do you have one or a few now that you're feeling might be a bit too restrictive? Have you left some labels or roles behind as you've pursued different options for yourself? Thank you for joining me today. If you loved this episode, please share it with others who would enjoy it. And please do join me at datingkinky.com and on our new apps available in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. It's built by Kinksters, for Kinksters, poly, queer, trans folk, and anyone not quite vanilla, and it's free. Find me on FetLife as Nookie Notes, and on Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, and Medium as Dating Kinky. We're on Instagram as Dating Kinky Official, all one word. Have a kinky day, and I'll catch you next episode.